We're live now.
Thanks.
So namaste Sanjeev ji, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah,
Very good to see
good
you. Yeah,
evening and welcome to the Inspire Experience conversations that we have every Monday with our Karmavir Award recipients like you. In fact, we had chosen you and nominated you for the Karmavir Maharatna Award last year, which is the
uh-huh.
highest title in the Karmavir hierarchy, but unfortunately you couldn't make it. So we should
Yeah,
take it forward this year with you. As you know,
definitely.
we
Yes.
have conversations every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Mondays, we have it with our Karmavir Award recipients at large, people from different walks of life. On Wednesdays, we have it with the youth, which are called the Youth Experience Conversations. And on
Mm-hmm.
Fridays, we specifically have with educators, teachers, and people who are in the education and academic field, which is called the Learning Experience Conversations.
Okay.
So, pleasure having you with us on this in this panel on the conversation. Itu would be leading the conversation with you for the next 45 minutes, and the
Sure.
idea is to kind of have some learning for the audience and the participants who are joining in on Facebook, and learn from you about what motivates you and inspires you to make the kind of films that you make in a
Mm.
in an era where most are only making commercial films with item numbers. You have
Yeah.
gone on this journey of making meaningful, intelligent, and important cinema, which is important to kind of make a difference in society and keep it socially relevant. So over to
Right.
you, E2, and I'll see you in the last 15 minutes. Now I'll
Sure.
become a fly on the wall. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Jerry. Thanks, Jerry. Namaste, Sanjeev, once again.
Yeah. Namaste.
And I'm going to start the conversation right away because Jerry's given a very beautiful introduction. And we look forward to having you over to inspire more people and more fellows on our next conclave 2021 now, hopefully, because the times are such that we do not know what's coming forward. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start with my first question, and I'd like you to share with us that you come from a family of cinematographers, and you were always inclined towards film. But when is it that how old were you when you really knew this is what you want to as a profession and passion of your life?
No, to start off, I was not into the creative thinking at all within the family, because my dad, a very accomplished filmmaker for himself, and then my two brothers, so the three of them were so creatively involved because they were into cinematography, writing, direction, and all that. And I was always on the side administrating this. Basically, there was nobody in the family to really to do the MBA work, So somebody had to do it. So I was always involved in that capacity. Though there was this, thing going on within me, and I used to always come up with, stories and things like that, but it never took off. So I was, so then, once I got married to my wife Deepti, who was an actress also, ex-actress and also. Then I had this thing, opportunity of, talking to her, the kind of things that I wanted to do and all that. And then she was the one who inspired me. Okay, good. It's good that you're doing it for this family, administrating all that. But take some time off and also think creatively and do what you want to do. So I think the whole thing started off after I got married in 1998.
Okay,
Until then, yeah. So until then, it was all to do with accounting and designing and all that. I never did a film till '98.
so do you think that growing up in that kind of an environment where filmmaking, direction, writing, and all of that was around you, were you learning? You were unknowingly learning a lot of things, and that came out when you finally decided that this is what you want to pursue.
Yeah. Look, even though look, I was into the administrative side, I was exposed to a lot of things.
Yeah,
Exposed in the sense that my dad had owned multiple movie cameras, which is very difficult at that point of time to own cameras, movie cameras like the
yeah.
Ariflex 2C and the Mitchell Reflex and all that. So we were always exposed to all that. And where studies was really not that of very any importance there. Studying, you have to study for exams, go to school, do well. No, 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 it was not like that. You need to leave. We were always exposed to a lot of films. In fact, when television did not, even before television came to India, we had the television set at home, and then we were trying to get this Rupavani from Sri Lanka. You had to pull out these big antennas and you need to put it in different directions to get it. So we were always exposed to, and every week on a Saturday and Sunday, the whole family would go and see a film in the theater. And then we would come back and critically analyze the whole thing. That's all Malayalam films, regional stuff. So there was always this, and then my dad has this studio, Sivan Studios, which was born in 1959, and is doing, and that was the place where all these filmmakers, writers, and all these people would come there in the evening, sit over a cup of tea, and interact and all that. So it was a very important place in the heart of the city. Even now, it is there, and so you were exposed to big people here, big people, like all kinds of people. So this was all great exposure, and when time came, you just took off, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the learning and the learning to learn and learning was happening right from childhood. It took a little while, and I would say it took a woman to kind of trigger you and to tell you that go ahead, do that.
Yes. No,
That's
because it happens sometimes. You need some fuel somewhere. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, great. That's so you studied cinema in New York School of Films, and I'm sure the learning over there must have been a little different, a lot different probably. And when you came back and you using that kind of learning in a different milieu, in a different circumstances, culture, how was it different? And what is it that you learned there was similar and you could use it here? Tell us about all of that part.
Yeah, look, learning experience in the United States was so different, especially at the film school that I went to. Now, no, look, in India, what the problem is, we are more into the theoretical stuff. You learn from books, and then you have a blackboard, that is it. Then you go by heart, whatever it is, I don't know. But when I went there, it was a shock for me because it was more of interaction than, theory and all that, all
Hmm.
practical. It is all practical. So the best times for me was the when visiting professors came from different states in America to take classes for 2 3 hours. That was really a good experience where you had all kinds of people from Clint Eastwood to Steven Spielberg to Spike Lee and all these people coming and giving you 3 hours of that interaction really helped me as a filmmaker. And you could just go to them and talk for hours. And when I remember going to a meeting Martin Scorsese, you've only heard of him and seen the film. So when after a class of 2.5 hours, I went up to him and told him that I am from India and I would love to meet you, sir, other than in the university. He straight away gave me his secretary's number and called, picked up a time and come. And I went to California and I spent a half a day at his home. You know,
Hmm.
so this kind of thing that you don't get here. You don't get here this kind of an interaction and being very open. And I was very lucky because when I went, that was the correct time for this. This
Hmm.
was a time when things were changing, and even Indian cinema was changing at that time.
What year was that?
This was in 2008.
Okay. And what is that one thing that you feel that was the best thing that you could have learned there, and it helped you a lot to do the kind of cinema that you do here in India?
Look, in America, in the film school, what I learned was cinema. There is nothing called right or wrong in cinema. That was one thing that really, even today, when I conceive something, this is thinking here. There is no right or wrong. If I'm going to show this the way it is, that is the way I conceive it. That is
Hmm.
how I look at it. That is the best thing. So here the problem is I've seen with a lot of these young filmmakers and all these people. Look, I've taken a lot of this online classes. The first question they would ask, sir, if you take a master shot, should we go close? We should go over the shoulder. Right? So this is the problem. Just fix to those rules. There are no rules in filmmaking. Right? This is the basic thing that they are taught in America. There is absolutely. This is the way you do it. Look, I would conceive a film the way I have looked at it. You might do it in a simple, different way. The story is the same. So if whoever can communicate to the audience in the best possible way, will be a successful filmmaker.
So in your words, it would be that I'm trying to draw an analogy here that cinema is like poetry. It is a spontaneous overflow of feelings. So how you are feeling looking at it as a director or as a writer or whatever you're doing in it is your own outlook, and that's the best.
Absolutely, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So I would like to know from you that you've been ardent fan of cinema with a pulse, and you've been using all of your knowledge and all of your art form to bring on meaningful work and use cinema as a form of art to also shift mindsets. So I'd like you to talk about some of your art pieces. I'd like to call them. Tell me about cinema with a pause, and which are these art pieces and cinema pieces that you would like to talk about?
Look, the cinema, the look, uh, it was not a conscious effort. After one of my films that I made in Malayalam with Mammootty,
Hmm.
and I wanted to take a break. I wanted to just, and because I was not happy with the way the film shaped up, in the sense that when you talk about commercial cinema, the moment you commit yourself to make a commercial cinema, the first check that you get comes with a document saying that this is the release date. So, and you're under so much pressure, trying
Yeah.
to film because you have a release date and you need to live up to that also, because being a commercial film, it's all about money and time. So I wasn't fully happy with the kind of the way it shaped up, but it did very well at the box office and all that. And I told my wife I need to take a break. I just want to get out of all this and go somewhere. So my brother-in-law was in the army, and
Okay.
he was in the colonel, and he said, and he was commanding a battalion in Leh, Ladakh, Leh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I made my first visit to Leh with my wife, just to just chill out, and then that's the time when I saw this Indo-Aryans, you know, Indo-Aryans in the tribal form in the
Yeah.
market. I saw about 10, 15 of them, hanging around there. So very unique people, and they look like Europeans. Only thing is the tribal dress made it different. So I was very, very curious about it. So I was told that they are Indo-Aryans, and so then while going back in the car, the driver told me that yeah, they live deep inside, and civilians can't go there. You need to have permissions to go inside. But he made a statement. He said, "Sir, I don't know. I don't know whether it's true or false, true or not. That these there are still German women who come to this area to get themselves impregnated by this Aryan for racial purity." Now, this one statement really struck me. So I passed it off. It might be a rumor, that is wonderful. But when I went back to the hotel and then I started talking to a couple of my brother-in-law's friends and all that, they said, you might find something in the library, baby. Yeah. So I went to the library, sat there, went through a lot of books, and this librarian also endorsed the PMG, but she didn't know whether it was happening or. So this was really, really, this was a turning point in my life, actually, if you ask me. Then went there for a 5-day holiday, but it extended to 20 days because I was probing this. And finally, I was able to meet an Aryan
Okay.
who, who spoke about this phenomenon, and he was one of them.
Okay.
So then that really, so I said, look, I had everything set. I went back home, and then I didn't know, no, look, you need funding to make a film like this. Where do you get funding? India doesn't have any funding yet, except for film division. They don't do all this kind of stuff. So somebody told me that, you should try National Geography or Discovery, something. So what I did, that I got into this Nat Geo site, and then I saw this thing, ngcideas.com, you know. So I go in and put this one pager which I wrote, and I titled this called Achtung Baby. Achtung in German means warning, warning
Okay.
baby. So I put this one page into the thing and then kept quiet.
Hmm.
48 hours later, in the middle of the night, I get a phone call, and it is from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Nagio tells me that is it possible for you to present this film in Singapore? Because Singapore government and Nagio has a deal every year.
Okay.
It's called if I'm correct, it is called EDB, Economic Development Board, some partnership basis, where three films are funded by the Singapore government through NatGeo. Three films for Asians, for Asian, no, not for Asians, all over the world. Just three films. So they said, no, they will provide you with tickets and accommodation. So that was okay. That is taken care of. So then they called me and said, look, why don't you purchase your ticket and come? We will refund you here in Singapore. So
Hmm.
when I looked at it, it was a first class ticket, business class ticket. Business class ticket they would provide for. So I told my wife, why are you sitting here? You also come with me. Anyway, they're going to pay this money, business class ticket. Let's do economy class. So I took my wife. We went and we were staying in a seven-star hotel. And the day the pitch was supposed to happen, I walked into this conference hall and I was shocked to see 100, 120 participants all waiting to pitch ideas, shortlisted ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to make matters worse, my title of the film was Aktung Baby, and being A, the alphabet A, I was the first speaker.
Oh.
And I've never in my life have stood in a platform like this. I've never given a speech in my life. I've never ever talked even about a film after it's made or before it's being made. And I was shivering. I was shivering. And you have five people, five jurors from America sitting in the stage to decide
Hmm.
whether to take it or not. And I have this
Hmm.
one page, that is it, which I've already shared with them.
Hmm.
I go stand there. The first thing that I did is I drank one full bottle of water, you know. And my wife, who was sitting in the audience, she knew this is gone, you know, this is
Okay.
disaster. So I started reading that, basically shivering, reading that. And then I put it down, looked at it, and I saw her standing up and walking off. So then they said, okay, Mr. Shivan, so this American jurors, they said it's a great idea. Do you have access to this place to shoot this?
Hmm.
I said, yes, access, yes. Anything can be done in India. I can just go work. My brother-in-law is the commander there. You know, as a we
The
casual
permission.
conversation. Yeah. I said, how can you do that? They can take you to court. I said, I don't know all these things. There is
Hmm.
a story there.
Hmm.
You help me, I will make it for you. This is the only thing that I can say. So
Hmm.
they said, is it cross country? Is it between two countries? Yes, yes. I said, there is an German angle and an Indian angle. So have you been to Germany? What is happening in Germany? I said, I have no clue what is happening in Germany. So it was a disaster, 15 minutes of disaster. And
Okay.
I just walked out and went and joined my wife and we went for shopping and all this. So it's a 3-day workshop. So on the
Right.
third day, I told my wife, let me go and see what is happening to the rest of the pictures. Second day, it skipped. So third day morning, I went and saw all the pictures and beautiful pictures. You will not even imagine with PowerPoint presentation, projections, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, all kinds of formats that now you know what to do. But then
Hmm.
at that point of time, I didn't know. So I was sitting there and went through all this and I found it to be amazing. Yeah? And finally, evening, the press came and they want to announce the three films. And the first one, Uptown Baby from India. Now, do I what do I do? I have no emotions because I don't know how to make this. They've given it to me. I have no clue whether I can make it or not. I was solid. I was standing there like that. I was neither happy or unhappy about it. But you have been given this very film, you know, which is huge. But then we made it. So that's a different story. We made the film and we made it in the best possible way. I was able to track down a German woman also
Hmm.
who spoke at length about this phenomenon and all kinds of stuff we did. And only thing is, when I had almost set the whole thing rolling to go to Germany and shoot all this, but then I started getting some hate mails and all that. So this
Hmm.
is like a mafia, and you didn't want to, but I made a great film which won the national award. It was named in Panorama. I screened it in more than 40 international festivals. So when I got into this docu, then it was a different experience for me. No pressure, I could do what I want. Then it was always looking for stories like the social issues, people. And then So slowly I started getting this calls from Discovery, Al Jazeera International, Sundance, and Media Corp Singapore, all NHK Japan, wanting films from me. And I started this journey of doing all kinds of social awareness and kind of thing. That is how the entire thing. So I had to literally leave off feature films because I didn't have time because this was coming up, because these all I had this time frame,
Yeah.
because the broadcast. So then we got into all that and made more than 75 docus and all international platforms.
So that was such a beautiful recount of one thing that you learn is that never say never to the dare that comes in front of you, and
Absolutely.
the ideas that come to you have the power to take them forward. And once you use that power, nothing stops you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And and also I found out, during my interactions with all those young filmmakers here, the first thing they would say is, so we want to get into commercial feature films. So I said,
mm,
why? Sir, I love documentary, but then I will be branded as documentary filmmaker.
mm,
So this is a question. I said, look, you're a filmmaker, whether it is docu or feature film, whatever, you're a filmmaker.
yeah,
Who is telling you that you're a documentary filmmaker? You know?
yeah,
So, there is always some conception about that, getting into marginalized into docu filmmaking. And today, if you look at it, it is the documentaries that is being converted into web series across the globe.
true.
You see all the web series on Netflix, Amazon, all that docu series and all that.
Yes.
That is being channelized now in the series. So look, I am sitting in a very, very comfortable zone now today because now documentaries has gone a little bit behind because now it's
Mm,
all series. Before it used to be a 50-minute documentary. Now that has gone into a 6 episode, 45 minutes each,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and with higher production values.
And more viewership.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And then you're competing with the world. You're
Yes.
trying to compete with. You're not just in the four walls competing within India. You're competing with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The best thing is going and taking it to different film festivals and interacting with people and filmmakers. That is where you're. That is what you want.
Yeah. And how connected we are in human emotions and human, you know, uh, cinemas give out that so much. There could be different cultures, different languages, different countries, but somewhere it kind of connects us through cinema in some way or the other.
Yeah.
I'd like to know that who's been your role model and inspiration at work and the driving force.
Look, even though I was exposed to all this at home within the family, I think it is my wife who has motivated me, inspired me to do this. Otherwise, I would be still a good administrator. I was good at it. I have an MBA degree with me. I would have done it. But I think it was she who turned the whole thing into what I am today.
And does she participate with you in the work that you do? In what capacity?
No, she's a corporate woman. She is heading a lot of channels, TV channels. She is now heading Z South
Hmm.
and Z Television, and she has been in Sun Network. She's doing a lot of corporate. She's into that, and she made a film herself on the life and works of Chandrama even last
Hmm.
year. And but I'm sure at some point she's going to stop all this and join me creatively.
So, I'd like you also to share with us one account of your experience as a cinematographer, as a film director, producer, which has left an indelible mark on your mind and always comes back to you in your work.
Look, I don't do cinematography. Look, it is only my brother Santosh Sivan who is a cinematographer, and even my dad is a cinematographer. I don't do cinematography, but uh, my basic look, I think my forte is to I could identify. You give me a 3 line, 4 line something, I could identify that and tell you this would be a good feature or a non-feature.
Mm-hmm.
And look, the best example was that there was a film called Afterlife that I made for Sundance Channel. It's a 20-minute film on a real life thing in Kerala. It was more on surrogacy. It
Hmm.
was surrogacy, a real story. And it is about an old couple who lost their son at the age of 24 due to testicular tumor.
Mhm.
So when you are a cancer, when you have tumors and things like that, and before chemotherapy, what they do if you're a young person, they take semen sample and keep it for future purposes, which was done for him also.
Hmm.
Now the boy dies and succumbs to this disease, and after 6 months, this old parents decide, why don't we make a child out of that stored semen, which is stored there, which is possible today. We need to rent a womb, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this was the story. And so when they went to the hospital to get the semen sample,
Hmm.
the they said, we can't just give it to you like that because the dead son had already signed the document saying that in the event of his death, this would be destroyed. He must have signed something like that, not knowing all these things. So
Yeah.
they had to go to Kerala High Court, and there was a
Right.
big case happening. Now the
Okay.
court was in a fix. The court's question to the old parents was, look, you are 68 and 70 years
Hmm.
each. Now
Hmm.
this child is going to be a grandchild, okay? And in the event of your death, what happens to this child? This is a human rights situation.
Hmm.
So ultimately, the old couple won the case.
Right.
But unfortunately, the mother, the old lady, wanted a womb from Kerala, her, and she was very much into her caste and all that. She wanted a woman of her caste, which they could not get it at all. So
Okay.
that did not happen. But the story was so intriguing. I shot the film called Afterlife, and
Hmm.
while watching it a couple of times, I thought, why this has got enough material for a feature film.
Hmm.
And I made a feature film called Endless Summer with
Hmm.
Seema Biswas, the actress, Bollywood actress, and actor from here. I made this film, 1.5 hour film called Endless Summer, which won the best film in Canada.
Okay.
All Canadian juries fell in love with this
Hmm.
film. And now today what I'm doing is I'm most of my docus are being made into features and web series now. And I'm sitting with so much of content, material, you know,
Hmm.
where I can now do whichever way I want today. You want to do a feature film? Yes. If it has got enough material, otherwise you go into a series.
Yeah. 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 So tell me, was there a period in between when you thought that this is not the mainstream cinema you're doing? You're doing a certain kind of a cinema. There is not much audience in it. It's only probably in film fare, cinema internationally that it is acknowledged and looked up at. So was that a little striving time?
No, I've never looked upon, uh, like, I never say commercial cinema or art cinema. I
Okay.
don't categorize. I say it's either good or bad cinema.
Right.
Simple as that. You make a good film, there are people to watch it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now the era of having this, it depends. As I told you, there is no right or wrong in this. If you
True.
want to make your film slow, make it a little slow. You make it a slow. Endless Summer was a little slow, which was I made it purposely like that because I wanted that emotions to come out. Because it was such a story.
Yeah.
And people liked it, so it did well at the box office. It's not that there are people too who will go and watch these films. It's not that you're always wanting to see action and dance and all that. No, it's not like that. We're a
So my
different audience today. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next question is also related to this only that do you think, I mean, now it's become cinema is not just restricted to India, or it's not restricted to a region, it's not restricted to a language, but do you see that Indian cinema per se is ready for more meaningful cinema, more realistic cinema, more realism in the form? Is it ready, or still there is place for more fantasy, or there's more place for realism?
Look, I always look. If you look at it, every time there is a nomination coming up with the Oscars, or anything, we are nowhere there.
Hmm.
We're never there. Even I don't think any of our official entries even being looked upon there.
Hmm.
Basically because we are trying to copy what others are doing.
Yeah.
See, content wise, it's always inspired. You can't say inspired; it is a copy, and they don't accept it as copy. They say inspired. Now, if you look at a country like Iran,
Hmm.
Iranian cinemas are so to the uh, roots. They make films original and from their literature and all that. And look where they are in terms of they've got alternate releases in America and Europe, and they're all in every major international platform. They've been awards and all that. Why
Hmm.
can't we do that? Why are we still copying things and doing this? Why can't we do justice to the continent? We are such a big country. We have got enough and more literature. This is
Hmm.
where the problem is. In terms of production values and talent, yes, we are up there. We are there. We can compete with anybody in that sense. It's only the problem is with the singing. A good example is a film like Gully Boy, which is the official entry of India. It has been made several times in America. Yeah. They don't have to even see this. It's a copy. It's a straight copy, cut and paste, basically. So
Hmm.
the moment it was announced, it is not going to go anywhere. And when you think about, look, another biggest problem here is Indian cinema is not just Bollywood.
True.
You get the best films in regional.
Absolutely.
Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, fabulous films. Why don't they send films from these states to for the academy and all that?
Yeah.
Now everybody is used to subtitle, and
Yes.
you send films from here. Why are you choosing the stupid things here? It's not that every Bollywood film is a stupid film. There are good films also in it,
True.
but you need to do that. India is not just Bollywood. That is what. Look, I also saw one in Cannes Festival celebrating but 50 years or 150 years of Indian cinema. And all this, there was a film made, yeah, funded by Indian government, funded by National Film Development Corporation, whoever it is. A film exclusively refers. There is no mention of regional cinema at all.
How sad.
So that's not what it is.
So, are you making any efforts towards bringing the regional cinema into some kind of a mainstream global thing? Of course, it's going through Netflix and all the other channels, but is there any other efforts from your end?
Yes, there is. The effort is always towards that. Effort is always, look, the problem here is, one should understand that a film made in India, there can be only one official entry, and that is decided by Indian Film Federation or whoever it is. I don't know who these people are, figure it out. But
Yeah.
then your film is not eligible as an Indian entry to the Oscar.
Okay.
So there's only one film. So unless your film is now produced by somebody in the West or Europe or bought distribution rights with some international distributor, only then you can enter into that space. So we make more than 1,300, 1,400 films a year, and one film is the official entry going from India.
So, there is a lot of talk about Hindi cinema, dominating in a in a way. It is dominating. You're talking also dominating every other discourse about cinema in the country. It may be good. It may be suicide. It may be anything. How far do you think that's not a correct thing to do? And there are other aspects of cinema around the country from other regions that should also come forward. How do you feel about that?
So there is always that what you call nepotism in this industry.
Hmm.
If you're coming at that point, yes, definitely there is. There is absolutely. There are
Hmm.
groups. So it is very difficult to get into this, areas. Can you imagine somebody like me going from Kerala with an idea? You will be nowhere, you
Hmm.
know, until and unless there is some big influence and things like that. So it's always a difficulty to make the right kind of films that you want.
Right. Right.
Now
Um.
today, but things are changing in the senses with this arrival of this OTT platform, which I first saw 10 years back. This was
Hmm.
going to come. This has helped the filmmaker, every filmmaker in this country, because you have now got a choice.
Right.
You got a choice. And by the end, if I am correct, by the end of next year, it is because of COVID-19, it has slowed down. We would have more than 130 platforms,
Okay.
OTT platforms. So where you get an opportunity to do your creative thing, which
Yeah.
could be showcased. You don't have to depend on theaters, a distributor, anything. You made a good film, you serious film or whatever. There is an OTT platform ready to showcase its streams. That is enough today.
Yeah. I'd like you to talk about one more, one of your films that you'd like the world to know about, and it is really helped you to bring about or bring out the creativity that you've been wanting to showcase to the world. Could you talk about that? Tell us about it.
That one film has not come.
So tell
I'm
what
I,
it's still.
I'm still, and that would be the film that would make that happen.
Are you going to tell us anything about it, or it's still in
No,
the preparation
no,
stage?
no. It is all there. It has been in the writing stages. All that I've had a lot of producers wanting to fund it, but I'm very adamant that this would not be funded from India. This will be only funded from the in the US or in the Europe, because I want this to be a foreign production, because I know the kind of problems that I would face once this film is made, and I have a target. This should be there, and it is not like my one of my visiting professors, Spike Lee, the filmmaker. What he said used to say is, by just doing a film and sitting will not is not enough. You need to market your product. And he used to go and put posters in the street of his film.
Right, right.
So you need to plan your film. You can't just make a film and then give it to the producer and tell him, okay, you do what you want. No, and get out of it. No, you need to know where it is going to go. So that's one film I'm working on. The idea is there, everything is there, writing
Mm.
is happening parallelly, and only thing is that I'm waiting for the right people to come on board. Only then it will reach where I want it to be.
So prior planning is going on, so
And
that prevents any.
COVID-19 was good. It was good time for planning, sitting and writing, and
Yes,
getting into the finest aspects of it. So it was a great time to be at home and doing all this.
yeah, and bringing out your creativity to the
Absolutely.
great.
Yes.
At this note, I am going to call Jerry in, and we're going to have some more conversation with you, bring out more insights from wonderful, wonderful conversation that I've had. And I think I'm going to go back and check out every film of yours for the
Yes.
next some days.
Yes.
And that's going to
Absolutely.
be how it is.
Yes.
So I would like Jerry to come in.
Yes, Sanjeev. Happy
Yes,
to be
Jerry.
back again. I've been listening to you with an intent to understand what all you do and the creative process which goes on in your head about the films you make. I would like to start with Achtung Baby. Very interesting film that you made. Was this 2007 when the movie was produced and released?
Right.
Yeah, and it has a slug line or a subtitle, "In Search of Purity." Now, as far as I know, this is basically because you have this German women who are probably neo Nazis or are very influenced by Hitler's experiments. And those experiments were not only done by Hitler, they were also done by a lot of people in India
Mm-hmm.
in the quest for what they called as the master race or the most purest race on earth, right? Which is very Brahminical culture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what they then kind of try to say is the Aryan invasion and the Aryan, race, which actually kind of gave birth to the current Indian. And those kind of narratives happen even today, if not in the mainstream and not loudly and starkly, then they at least happen in hushed tones, because we are a caste based society. And in our caste based society, the Kshatriyas and the Brahmins are supposed to be the so-called upper caste. And I think there's a bigger thinking about the Kshatriya warrior caste, about them being the pure race, what is now called as the Aryan race. So in 2007, I think you found it difficult to get funding in India. But today, with the current regime, I think a project like this would get immediate funding. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's because when you have OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar and all that, it is your chances of funding, getting better funding is there now today.
No, no, no. I was
You,
not talking about funding from OTT platforms. I was
uh,
talking about funding from the current regime, as in the current government, because they
I've,
would love an idea like this to say that,
I've never,
I mean,
okay,
I'm giving you a thought process for getting funding now. See, because
okay,
on one side you have the government ghost funding movies like Uri,
uh,
right, to show that we had surgical strikes. Now, whether it
right,
happened or didn't happen is still a matter of debate, right?
mm,
Now,
mm,
Galwan happened, and then you'll have Yuri Part 2 coming in. And who's laughing
correct,
all the way to the bank? Ronnie Screwvala, right?
correct,
Okay.
right,
Now, there is a lot of propaganda which is also done through movies, right? If you
yeah,
saw a lot of Hollywood movies, they used to love bashing up the Russians and
correct,
showing them as the evil guys while they were always the good guys. Well, that was not true at all, because the Cold War
mm,
was always, if I would still consider America as the more evil than Russia, because they were the people who always played games. And you saw
mm,
that even after USSR has dissolved, you still see them playing games in Afghanistan and Iran and other
right,
places in Iraq,
right,
etc. And
mm,
yet they have this brilliant propaganda machinery called Hollywood, which
yeah,
churns out movies after movies, which shows you that the other guy is the evil guy.
right,
Now, if you see, that's exactly what we did with Uri.
yeah,
The movie called Uri could just basically be fake propaganda,
absolutely. You
right?
don't know whether it's right or wrong, yeah. You don't
Yes.
know whether, yeah,
And an entire generation is growing up watching that movie, thinking this is what happened, and we got the better of them with surgical strikes.
correct,
Right. Now, how does it help you when the entire government is creating fake propaganda? You have the prime minister and the ministers lying to people, lying to the public on their face. For example, you go into a UN forum and you say, we have supported 150 countries. My dear friend, you couldn't support people in your own country, and you're supporting 150 countries. So that will
right,
be another movie which is made. Right.
yeah, yeah,
So I feel that, with a topic like this, which actually proves that we have the master race with us, because we are the
yeah,
Aryans, the
yeah,
pure blooded and the pure, with the sharp features and the blue eyes and the Aryan features. I think
yeah,
that this would be a ideal propaganda machine for the current government, and maybe even the Congress government. What do
yes,
you?
yes. Why not? Yeah, why not?
It's giving you fuel for thought.
Right?
I will. I'm
Yeah.
off. No, no, I was recently
Especially if
doing
you
this.
cast Akshay Kumar in the film, it's made.
Yeah. No, no, I had an idea for a feature film at one point,
Right.
with Danny Dengsopa,
Danny Deng Zongpa, yes.
uh, as the Aryan, It's
Yeah,
about this
right.
girl in Germany
Right.
who finds out, she finds out before the mother dies, finds out that she was the child, like, born out of this kind of a thing. And
Right.
she's her journey to India to find the father, who's
Right.
Danny.
Right.
There was a move at some point. I don't know. I wrote somewhere, but
Uh,
maybe I don't know. Yeah, let's see, Jerry.
No, no, I'm just giving you food for thought, because
Yeah,
going by the way the current government goes, because, and especially like I said, if you cast Akshay Kumar or one of their cronies in the
yeah,
movie,
yeah,
who
yeah. I
can
know.
you can even show the Aryan man eating mangoes, which
Yeah,
Modi ji used to eat when he was a child, because
yeah.
that was the entire conversation that Akshay Kumar and he had, as a
And that interaction.
as a prelude to the elections. Instead of discussing serious matters, we were discussing about him being a chaiwala, which he never was, or
Yeah,
him eating mangoes. I've never understood how the mango eating was so important. Probably because we are a country of mango people, the Aam
right.
Aadmi as we are called. But the point I'm trying to make is Galwan again. I'm told Ajay Devgan, the
Yes,
Galwan
he's the
incident is
remake.
being produced by Ajay Devgan. And I don't know how they'll produce that, because they keep saying that there was no intrusion and no invasion by the people from China or the
Ah,
soldiers from China. So then what are we producing then as a movie? So it does sound like reality is stranger than fiction,
yes.
right?
They'll cook up something. Yeah, they'll. So breaking a storyline is not that difficult.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, what you see it on screen is what you're going to believe.
Yeah, you just have to take Black Hawk Down,
Yeah,
and some of those Hollywood
absolutely.
movies, make some kiss out of that and say that this is how it happened in Galwan, right?
The
So absolutely right.
cut and paste. That is it.
Cut and paste, and we have the master of that in Mahesh, but right here in Bollywood. So
Yeah.
so we've specialized in that. The other thing which I picked on when you were speaking, and I really like that, because in a country which produces, like you said, maybe 1400 or 1500 movies,
Film.
and I completely completely endorse what you said, that most of our regional cinema is par excellence compared to what they churn out, the trash and the rags that they churn out in Bollywood. At the same time, there are some people in Bollywood who do make good cinema.
Yeah.
And, I've been part of some of those groups in my early avatar as a person who headed a media and entertainment company producing movies. We had produced
Mm-hmm.
movies like Pinjar, right?
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to
Yes.
produce good movies which didn't just have item numbers, they had content and they had subject matter, they had history, right? Um, we are part of the as iCongo, we are part of a movie called I Am, which was completely crowd-funded and raised the entire funding over the internet, over Facebook and social media, in a time when there were no crowdfunding websites like what you have today, like a Kickstarter or whatever. But
Mm.
that said, you then have that, the representation that happens of Indian cinema
Yeah.
in the Oscars, which is like your gold standard for movie awards, the Academy Awards as they are called, right? So I remember around 2007 or 8, this is around 10 years ago, maybe more. We have another filmmaker like you, a director and a producer like you, who's also a Karmavir Award recipient. Her name is Bhavna Talwar. And Bhavna had made a movie called Dharma
Mm.
around a decade ago. I don't know if you've seen the movie.
No.
The movie has brilliant performances by Pankaj Kapoor,
Mm-hmm.
who plays this Hindu staunch Pandit Brahmin,
Mm.
right? He's a priest. He's the priest of a temple, and without knowing it, he's brought up a child who's Muslim.
Mm.
And then there comes a situation where all the people are out to kill the child, and he stands between the mob and the child. It's a brilliant film. You should watch it. Dharma.
Yeah.
Now, in that year, I feel if any cinema, if any movie had the merit to really be sent to the Oscars as India's nomination for the foreign film category, because it had history, it had tradition, it had culture, and it showed you the stark reality of how India is, even today, in the so called, you know, uh, era when we are making advances towards settling down on Mars and on the moon, right? So here is an entire movie which showed you that this is what historically we are. This is how we've grown up thinking. This is the nature and nurture embedded in us, made brilliantly by Bhavana Talwar. That's how we chose her for the Karmavir Award that year. And on the other side, you had the entire industry sending a complete commercial rag called Eklavya as a movie, which was India's representation for the foreign film category award, by calling that a historically relevant film. Now, Eklavya was just a masala film. I wouldn't even call it a cult. It just had Amitabh Bachchan, who I don't grade very high as an actor.
No.
It had Vidhu Vinod Chopra producing it. And it became a big controversy because Bhavna Talwar did make a noise. And yet, it was Eklavya which went as the. So, what are your thoughts on this?
That's exactly what I said, Jerry. Look, you can't do, look, Indian cinema is not Bollywood.
Right.
First of all,
Absolutely.
try to understand that. And the whole system, you have a film federation of India choosing these films, and all the 12 members has to be qualified.
Right.
They should have been exposed to international cinema. Half of the guys have no idea where this film has been copied from or any of these things.
Right.
They just go by the, by the rest of it. So look,
Right.
the fault lies in the jury. It's the constitution of the jury. That is very important in a film festival or anywhere.
Very true.
You know, so that is where it is lacking. I think that is where it is, because I have myself been a jury member for the National Film Award and a lot of others. I've been to in Iran also. When I went to Iran for this Tehran International Film Festival, I was a jury member, and my jury members were from US, UK, Sweden, and all that. And it was such an interesting interaction where you really, really have to, vouch and explain why you are voting for such a film. And whereas in India, what do? Your 12 members, six is voting for that, six is you. So the chairman gets extra vote. I will put it to whoever I know. It's like that. It is not on merit. That is why every year you have this controversy in the National Film Award.
So it's mostly because of nepotism. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. I would say that.
And there is an entire outcry right now in the movie industry about nepotism. What are your thoughts
Yes.
and insights on that? This has
Yes.
really come
Yes.
up after the Sushant Singh Rajput suicide.
Which is very, it's a pity that it has happened like that, but it is there, definitely there. It is not very easy to go and make a film jury there.
Right.
It's not very, unless you have your own money, and even if you're producing yourself, getting actor.
Right.
No. If I go to a producer, which I did recently, I am doing a film with Nawazuddin Siddiqui.
Right.
You know that.
did
You're
tell me
aware
that.
of that.
Yeah.
Now, when I went to a major production house saying that, look, I've got this man and this is the film, you know what he said? Look, you have to be a part of this organization.
Right.
So, and your actor is neither a part of this organization.
Right.
They have not even heard the story.
Absolutely. I
So where do you
completely
go?
agree with you. I won't name the producer, but when we are making this movie, which has 4 stories interwoven into them, which are all socially relevant because they are about how homosexuals were kind of criminalized, how difficult it is to be a single parent in India, the Kashmiri Pandit and the conflict in Kashmir, and the issue of child sex abuse. And suddenly we had this producers turning around and tell us, where's the item number? And we were like, how does that work?
Yeah.
This is not a movie which will have item numbers. No, you can fit it in because that'll create a lot of publicity for the movie.
Yeah,
I said, I don't think.
that's the song that will go in the trailers and all this publicity.
Right.
That's what they want. Yeah, they want
Right.
something there. Yeah.
They want something there because and you're talking about making a stark realistic movie and they don't understand the concept. That's how we had to kind of reinvent and go the crowdfunding route. But that said, I've seen a lot of directors, and I'll name them. For example, Anurag Kashyap, who once upon a time, I remember speaking with him in a few forums earlier. Last time I met him was around 2011 when we spoke in the Young Turks forum. And I asked him, I said, there was a time when he would say that I would never make movies like Karan Johar,
Hmm.
Shadiwala movies.
Yeah.
Today you are teaming up with them and you're acting like you're long lost brothers. And
Right.
suddenly in a stark movie which is based on reality, I see Anurag Kashyap putting in item numbers. So how does that work and how do you tread this line without really compromising on your ethics and values?
Look, for me, for me, it's very simple. If the film requires an item number, I would do it.
Right.
Simple
Okay.
Simple as that.
I
You
like that
can't-
honesty.
Yeah, because I won't listen to a person saying that we need something because I'm the one who's spending money. We need to recover that. Then this is not the film for you.
Right.
I would
Right.
say it upright. Now,
Right.
Kanurag has struggled all his life from the beginning, from the first film I've known him. And, there was a period where he was nowhere. Yeah? So to break into and
Right.
do something is a survival, basically.
Right. No, what I'm trying to say is that, if a plot demands an item number because it's part of the plot and it's like a critical, scene or a part of the movie where it is required, then it is justified. But if you're
Yes.
just adding it zabardasti, right? Just because you need a kind of a interlude, then
Yeah.
it challenges me, right?
Yes.
Now that is what I'm saying about it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see a lot of movies where suddenly that item number is like a slap in the eye. It's not a part of
Absolutely.
the script. It doesn't have a
It
flow.
has no connection at all.
Right.
Absolutely no connection at all. It's
Yeah.
just meant for look. I think those things, the cinema today is changing. Every day it is changing because of all these OTT platforms, it's changing in a big way.
Right.
Now you will see the changes happening now.
Absolutely. No, and I'm happy with OTT platforms, but again, my challenge with some of the OTT platforms is I watched this movie recently, which is like, partly shot in India, partly shot in Bangladesh.
Hmm.
And I forget the name because it was not worth remembering. It's got that
Hmm.
guy who acts in the Marvel Comics Thor movies, and it's got
Hmm.
Randip Huda.
Okay.
And I watched 10 minutes of it, and normally there are some Hindi movies I watch on fast forward
Hmm.
into 3 mode, right?
Hmm.
So it gets over in 10 minutes. I didn't even
Yeah.
want to do that with this movie.
Okay.
Or then another movie of Sushant Singh Rajput, which was made by Karan Johar much earlier, which was like, shelved and in the cans. And then
Yeah.
because he wanted to kind of recover his money, he sold it. But where,
Hmm.
where, where do you safeguard the actor's interest over there? Because I think that movie was like a professional suicide for some of the actors in that movie. If you've
Hmm.
seen Drive, it's not even fast forward mode. You just want to kind
I
of
know.
just want to bring the TV off, right?
Right.
So
And look, Indian content, Jerry, Indian content in this OTT platforms are not that good.
right,
What is, so if you look at the rating, you can see it's nowhere. None of the
absolutely,
Indian film are doing well at the OTT platform when you have a great opportunity here in front of you. Now, the
absolutely,
problem here is, Jerry, is that, look, you cannot go to any of these OTT platforms directly.
right,
You're not going to get it. You're going to be kept waiting for 2 months and then they will send you a letter saying that, you know, but
right.
the thing is that they have all deals with all this big production houses.
Right, and that therein lies. It's a nexus.
Yeah, it's an actor. So you have to go to these people to get it there.
Uh,
The content that you spend might be rejected by them, but if you go through this, it will happen.
right.
So you
I
look
get
at
I get that.
you get all this films that has been done on OTT. It is all big wigs. They have given 6, 7 companies, all big ones, Dharma Productions and all that, and
Right,
they're all doing crap. Yeah, it's
right.
all to do with yeah,
And yet you have a Patal Lok,
yeah,
right, which had completely no celebrated actors in it,
absolutely,
right? And it went on to become a runaway
yeah,
success,
yeah,
right? And we still don't learn because we are so caught up by the names of the have beens in the movie industry, right?
yeah,
The guys who are out of work today because nobody wants to touch them with the barge pole, and you're bringing them onto
right,
the OTT platform and spoiling the
correct.
content there and also.
Absolutely.
So that
You
that, that that is a challenge, and I think that happens because we are not creatively inclined. We are
absolutely,
star
yeah,
inclined. We don't focus on script. I mean,
yes,
a good director will always tell you the script is the hero, not the actor,
yeah,
right? And you've seen that. I mean, you made movies like that. I'm also a big fan of your brothers. I mean, I can say very I'm selectively a fan of some people like you. Santosh has made some brilliant cinema. He had made that movie called Terrorist with Ayesha Darkar, right?
correct.
Which again, Ayesha is not an actor, not a celebrity, but the movie was well appreciated the world
Yeah,
over. So there
yeah,
are people making good cinema in India, but those are not the people who are being celebrated as
mm,
geniuses. Because who are being
right,
celebrated as geniuses are the Aditya Chopras and the Karan Johars of the world.
absolutely, correct.
Right.
What you said is perfect.
So
Right.
any thoughts as closing thoughts on that?
Look, I'm sure because of this Rajput, after that things have changed a bit. You know, I'm sure it has to change. Everything has to change at some point. Yeah.
Right.
Something or the other has to happen. It will change, and the
Right.
change is
Absolutely.
happening. It is change is happening now, and
Absolutely.
I'm sure that there's a great period for filmmakers. Because you have a choice of making feature films for theatrical. At the same time, you can do it as an OTT thing. So there is options that are limited now. It's not that if you don't get a producer, you don't have to sit there idle. You have other options now. So
Absolutely.
this is a great time for filmmakers, and I am sure this is the time to make use of this. And and as I said in my conversation with her, I was telling you need to focus on doing something and go beyond these 4 walls. So
Right.
why are we sitting here and competing here within ourselves? And go out, compete with the best, and come out
Absolutely.
of that. That is what the very thing is.
A-
That's it.
and and I wouldn't just say go out. I mean, you provoked another thought, which because you spoke about regional cinema, and I've been
Yeah,
following South Indian cinema. When I say South
mm,
Indian, I'm not going to put it into a bracket as Tollywood
mm,
or Mollywood or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
talking about pure South Indian cinema, whether it's from Tamil or Malayalam, and
Mm,
they've been making brilliant cinema, relevant cinema, sensible cinema for years now. I remember the good old days of Doordarshan. There is this movie of Kamal Hassan where He's a alcoholic and he's like a dance teacher. And I was glued to it. I couldn't understand a word of what was being said, but I could just read the subtitles, and I was glued to it as a teenager who used to love action movies and typical rom-coms. I was glued to this very socially relevant movie which Kamal Hassan acted in. So it's not that there's no audience also. So what is the reason you think that the big daddy of cinema in India, which is Bollywood, unfortunately because of the audience, has not learned from those experiments in the South?
There's only one word, Jerry. Look, South goes into literature.
Right, right,
Most of the films that you see is from literature,
right,
from books.
right.
That is the difference.
Very nice. I like that.
Very, very simple.
Right,
Look,
right,
I have even today. I make it a point to read at least 10 books a month. Maybe some you get inspired, but films from literature work. That's
right,
true from the
right,
soil, you know.
right, right.
Whereas Bollywood is all cut and paste here. It is all cut and paste.
I completely
See,
agree with you because Pinjar was also based on literature. Amrit,
literature.
Amrita Pritam Shergill's book. So that's
The
what.
the reason why this Malayalam films, Tamil, Kannada, Telugu to a certain extent was because of this literature.
Very
In
nice.
fact, last year's national awards, all the four major film awards went to Malayalam films. And Shekhar Kapoor was the jury chairman. He was shocked. And when he was told this is all from literature, he was shocked.
True, true.
That is the difference.
Very nice. Excellent. So great having you with us, Sanjeev, and thank you for making the time to be with us today. We got some great learning and insights from you, and I'm sure that people in the audience who aspire to be filmmakers or are filmmakers already would have a lot of learning from you.
This
Thank you
is
so much.
the best time to be a filmmaker.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sanjeev. You
Thank
too,
you so
any
much.
closing words from you?
I think the inspiration comes from that age is no bar. When you want to learn something, just go ahead and follow your passion and dreams, and
Yeah,
stick to originality. And
absolutely.
those who are
There is
aspiring to
no,
make films should go and read literature.
yeah, that's the best way to, from a short story, if you read a short story, look, you can always interpret it in different ways. You will get ideas, how it is written. And true to the soil, that makes it a big difference, yeah.
It was very beautifully inspiring to talk to you and learn so many things. And I think I have my Netflix or my OTT platform list ready to watch.
Yeah, good, great. Yeah.
Thank you
So,
so much.
so thank you and namaste and all the best for your film with Nawazuddin.
Thank you, thank you. It will take some time because of all this COVID and all
Of
that.
course.
It's going to take some time.
But we look forward to it. Thank you
But
so
Looking
I am
forward.
much.
coming to Delhi. I'll meet you.
Surely we have to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Namaste
sure.
and have a good evening.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.